Hi, this is your nightly news anchor, Annalise Ramirez, here with Kelsey Kraft on CAK News, and we're here with the latest on the Jasmine Revolution, otherwise known as the Tunisian Revolution. It all started when an unemployed 26-year-old man, Mohamed Bouazizi, protested the government corruption by setting himself on fire in central Tunisia on December 17th of 2010 and caused protest eruption.
In January 2011, after 23 years of power, President Ben Ali goes into exile while protests are still happening.
Yes, wow. Seems like he abandoned his country, doesn't it?
It does. After President Ali goes into exile, Prime Minister Ghannouchi resigns that February and the protesters' demands are met, getting their clean slate.
Then, after protests are ongoing with police and anti-government protesters, the curfew from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. is reinstated in Tunisia's capital, May 2011.
Followed by the president and his wife's sentencing to 35 years in prison, Ben Ali sentenced for corruption of government and lethal force against protesters. Parliamentary elections take place later that year in October, and the Ennahda Party being a clear victor due to 70% turnout.
The Ennahda Party is the political party that is opposed to the government's current situation. The Constituent Assembly is held later in November. They hold their inaugural Congress. In December, the Constituent Assembly adopts a temporary constitution to take place until a final constitution can be approved.
Monsef Marzouki, a human rights activist and opposition leader, is elected president of Tunisia by the Constituent Assembly. President Marzouki elects Hamadi Jebali, a member of the Ennahda Party, to fill in the role of prime minister in December of 2011.
As we transition into 2012, the revolution keeps spiraling in its path of violence. In the month of May, hundreds of Salafi Islamic extremists engage authorities and attack a police station in Djenadouba in a disagreement over Salafi attacks on alcohol sellers in May. The following month, Tunisian government imposes an overnight curfew in 8 more places outside of Tunis, following riots over an art exhibition by Islamists. 1 man died after being shot in the head. In August, we see thousands of more protests in the capital where they argue against the decrease in women's rights.
It's really brutal. In February 2016, Prime Minister Jebali resigns after the Ennahda Party rejects his proposals to form a government of technocrats after killing an opposition anti-Islamist leader. In Ennahda rejected his allegations that it was behind the killings of Chokri Bilade, whose death started extremely violent demonstrations. Several weeks after that, at least 1 person is murdered in clashes between protesters and police officers once again.
Breaking news. Hi, I'm Caroline Broderick with the latest on the Tunisian Revolution. According to recent discoveries, assassination of opposed politician Mohamed Brahmi prompts mass demonstrations, a general strike, and calls for the government to resign. It's July of 2013, and there are protest breakouts everywhere. It just gets harder for the Tunisian citizens. Hi, we're back. It's me, Caroline, here with Annalise on how history repeats itself. The Tunisian Revolution seems justifiably similar to the French Revolution, and here's why.
The Jasmine Revolution starts off with 1 man setting himself on fire, much like how the French Revolution starts off with 1 group of people storming the prison of Bastille. This leads to the start of the revolution, with the lower class fighting the corrupt government, similar to the French Revolution.
Another thing the 2 revolutions have in common is they are both very violent. Although not as many people died in the Tunisian Revolution as the French Revolution, there is still a lot of brutality and destruction involved. Many people got hurt, but not necessarily killed.
In both revolutions, many people of power were killed or imprisoned. For example, the president of Tunisia was sentenced to 35 years along with his wife. This also happened in the French Revolution. The wives of the rulers were punished because of what their husbands did. Many government leaders were killed by protesters.
In conclusion, my prediction about the future of Tunisia compared to France after their revolution is that there will be hardships for this country. I believe afterward will be a few years of struggling just like the French have. But then there will be a great leader just like Napoleon Bonaparte was good for France at first. Tunisia will also make peace between their government and the people of their country. Go.
Come to Bottom Jeets with all the fruit that you can eat. Here we sell bananas, pineapple, mango, strawberry, apples. We have it all. Come to Bottom Jeets and you get fruit. Not for free, but you still get to eat. Come to Bottom Jeets now, today.
This revolution began in 1789 and ended in 1799 with Napoleon Bonaparte's Directory. The French citizens revolted against the absolute monarchy and feudal system. It all started just as the American Revolution was ending and France's people were dying from disease and starvation. The Third Estate expressed their feelings about the heavy taxation by looting, rioting, and fighting against the unrest government. The National Assembly had been meeting at Versailles for months to try to make a new constitution to adopt. On August 4th, 1789, they adopted what they called the Death Certificate of the Old Order. The Declarations of Rights of Man was a compilation of ideas from Enlightenment philosophers such as Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The document proclaimed commitment to replace the old ways with new orders, with a new system of freedom of speech, popular leaders, and a representative government. The revolution soon turns radical with revolts and terror. France thought that the French people were planning counter-revolutionary alliances in Austria and Prussia, so they declared war. Because of this, many accused counter-revolutionaries were massacred. The king, Louis XVI, was arrested for treason and sentenced to death by guillotine. This was the start of the French Republic and the 10-month period called the Reign of Terror. Christianity was abolished and thousands of supposed enemies were executed by the guillotine. Survivors of the Reign of Terror approved a new constitution. The Directory, a 5-member legislature, was put into place by Parliament. The army was led by Napoleon Bonaparte, a young and successful general. The Directory's 4 years were mostly financial crisis, discontent, and political corruption. Napoleon Bonaparte staged a coup d'etat, crowned himself emperor, and this marked the end of the revolution and started the Napoleonic period.